if you think like I'm going too fast, please let me know. If you think I'm too serious, do let me know, because I feel like I'm a very serious person, which I don't like, but it is what it is. So again, this is like this is your place. Own it. It's not my place. It's our place. We'll try to help each other out. End goal is to be successful as a team, as an individual, as an organization. And so please speak up anytime whenever you feel you need to talk about something or raise hand. I think Brother Fahad raised his hand. So go ahead, brother.
My question is that I think Raju kind of mentioned earlier. I think you are going to record the class, or we are individually going to record the
No,
class.
I will record it and share it with you guys. Only thing is that I request you, once I share the recording, it's not gonna stay for more than 2 3 weeks because of
Oh, okay.
the
So you
space
just
issue. I'll share it with you guys. Like, you go, don't let it sit for too long, because I don't have like unlimited space. I'm working with limited space in terms of recordings. But let's start. I started recording, and let's see how it goes. I'll share this recording at the end of the class, and just go through it. Don't let it pile up. You know.
okay.
Okay.
Great.
So that's one thing. The other thing is like, if you guys can kindly share your email address to this group, so I can make I'll send you guys email, because I know most of you guys are getting invitation and everything through the phone, and it's not ideal to join with the phone. I recommend everybody to join with your laptop, because you would have to, like, sometimes do some work and everything. So, and ideally, I recommend everybody to join with the laptop. That's the ideal situation. So please do share your email address to this group. Okay, so we'll start in a second. Cool, cool. Everyone sending the email address. Thank you guys. You guys are very active. So before we start, any questions about this course or anything unknown, or any hesitations or concern? I guess not. So we'll start, and if anytime you have questions, concern, let me know. And Raju is here, and others are here who's going to help you. So we'll start with the part one, is basic intro to the software. Can you guys see my screen? Is it clear? Do I need to zoom in a little bit more, or you're fine?
We see it.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So the basic intro to the software. What is software? We all know what is software, right? We use software every day. Right now is unbelievable. The amount of places we are using software, we don't even know, right? We don't even know we're using software, because that's how much software is widely being used in this day and age. um, the phone, the whole thing is a software. TV is a software, phone is a software, the AC, the hardware. Right now, like, there is no hardware without software. Everything has a software tied to it. So we need to know what is software, what is software. And before I start, guys, most of the time you're going to see a question has an answer written two different ways. So one of the answer would be a technical answer, and the other one would be like plain English for you to understand. I try to simplify the course for you guys. So what is software? Software is a kind of program which used for operating computer and related devices. So you guys know what that is. And another way you can answer to that question is, software is a package code in an organized manner which operates hardware and a specific job. Under technical terms, software is called application, program, and system. Under business terms, software is called project and product. So these two line right now, you won't understand. As we go further into this class, you will understand what I mean, right? So let's talk about a software. What is a software? And an example of software, it could be Facebook, right? What is Facebook? It's a software, but we could call Facebook as an application, right? It is an application. It is also a program. It is also a system, right? But in a normal world, I think you would be familiar with application or program. This too, you would consider Facebook as, but you may not think Facebook as a system. But when you go to IT industry, when you work physically, often they refer software as a system. often they refer software as a project, for example, or a product. So for example, like, let's say you get a job with Facebook today, or Google, or Amazon, right? These are nothing but application. But in an actual work, I'm not gonna say which application you're working in. I would ask you like which project you're working in. So that's why, like, under business terms, software is called as a project or product. That's how we refer in the actual industry. So these two things, like, the more you go through this course, you'll understand what I mean by that. Now, what is application? Application is not nothing but software. Like, first two question is same thing, right? Application is a program that runs in computer and similar devices, right? I don't think we need this, but it's just repeating the same question different ways. Now, and next thing is really important for everybody to understand. Like, we know what is software or what is application. Let's just stick to software. What is software? Now we need to understand what are the different types of software or application in this industry. So that there are mainly three types of applications. One is desktop application, the other one is client server application, and the third one is web application. These three um, understanding and differentiating it is really important. So what is desktop application? And everything, so desktop application, think of it as an application that runs in one machine. Application runs in single memory, front and back end in one place. Only one person can use. So this is for your understanding purpose. Understand what is desktop application. An example of a desktop application is Microsoft Office, Windows Media Player. I would say Microsoft Office, like, within Office, what are the different type of software you have, like Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. These are like the application I'm using, Microsoft Word, right now. So do you have access to it? No, because this is sitting in my computer, and I only have access to it. It is running in same single memory, single application, and it's running in my desktop. So that's why it's called desktop application. The next thing is client server application. Client server application run in two or more machines. Application is menu driven, limited number of users. So this kind of application, like, is it's dealing with limited number of users. So the number of users that have access to that application, they will be able to use that application. For example, like, take an example of Skype, right? If you download Skype and you have a login information of the Skype, you can access it, um, the messenger and things in those nature. So same application could be accessed from multiple location, multiple people can use it, but it has to have, like, access. You have to have access to it. You have to create an account and have access to it, and it's not running on the web. You have to physically download that software. So this is the client server application. Think of it as client server application, like client has an application downloaded within their system, right? So if you go to work right now, if you download Skype in your system, you only will have access to Skype. But if you go to work, and if they're using Skype for work, they're going to download it in their system, and they're going to give the entire employees access to that Skype. So that Skype, it belongs to the company. The company is nothing but the client, right? And they would give access to, let's say, 30 or 40 or 50 users, right? So other than these employees, no one else can use it. So it is limited to the number of users they're giving permission to, and that's about it. So this is not sitting in one single machine. It could be in multiple machine, multiple people can use it, but is not accessible to everyone, only those who has access to it, right? And the third one is the most popular one, uh, web application. And what is web application? Web application, everything runs on www. um, Application runs in two or more machines, URL driven, unlimited number of users. For example, www, right? So when you go to a website, whatever it is, Facebook, WhatsApp, not WhatsApp, Facebook, Amazon.com, or any other application that you use World Wide Web to access it. So there is no limit to this application. Everybody can use it. People from this country, they can use it. People from Australia can use it. Bangladesh, India, wherever, like, right? If you have internet connection, you can use this application. So this one is really popular, right? Client servers application used to be popular, but nowadays it's not as popular. Everything is moving toward shifting toward web application, and it's the way to go. So web application has some issues. For example, some compatibility issues, browser compatibility issues. Some hardware compatibility is there, but it's not it's configurable. But browser compatibility issues, right? For example, you have so many different kinds of browsers. For example, Chrome, IE, Firefox. Then you have Safari and so many more, right? And each one of them has different version. Like if you look at IE has like version 10, 11, 12. Right now, I think it's 12. So when you build an application, you have to consider those. You have to make sure that application is compatible with different browser and versions. Well, it also depends on the requirement. If requirements, defines that that application has to be compatible with different versions, then you have to consider that. But Chrome right now, Google Chrome is the most popular one. But going back to the web application issues, like browser compatibility is the biggest issue, one of the biggest issue. And the version, like I mentioned, each browser has different versions. Security issues. So this is another issue. Security issues, right? People can hack into the application, and you guys all, sometimes you hear like, like hacker hacked something. So when you have a World Wide Web application, people can access it from different places, including the hackers and things in those natures. Performance issue. There's another issue, right? Let's say you build an application, and that application is, let's say you build a mini version of Facebook application, and 100 people logged into that application at once. And at that point, if you do not have the capacity of that 100 people, your application is going to be slow. And every application, when they are building on the World Wide Web, they have the capacity, defined capacity. My application is going to hold X number of people at once. So I'm not sure if you guys notice this sometimes. Facebook has like pretty big number of capacity, Amazon and everything. um, Last year, you guys remember probably the unemployment application, right? It was keep crashing because hundreds of thousands of people are logging into that application at once when the pandemic hit, and the application was not ready for that. They did not uh, consider that. No one knew that there was going to be pandemic. No one knew that there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people logging in at once. So this application was crashing right and left. So this is nothing but performance issues. Like they did not think like all those people is going to log into that application at one shot. So application was crashing right and left, and they had to fix it. It took a while, but they fixed it. So these are the issues for the web applications. Any questions before I move forward from this side? This is just the basics, really. Um, you must understand. Okay, so I think you guys are clear about this on part two, basics intro still to the software and the testing. So now this is what is testing like. This is what we're going to be doing, and we need to understand. We are going to be software testers. That's our title, and that's what we're going to be going to the job market for. So, so basics of software testing. What is software testing? So, first answer is a little bit technical. It is a process of impartial technical investigation to ensure the correctness of the product. If you look at the next answer, what is software testing? To meet the user requirement to make sure does the software really work as expected? Does it meet users' requirement? Does the user like it? Is is it what user expect? So basically, what is software? So software doesn't get built automatically, right? Let's say you are a software company, and there is going to be people who want your help to build a software for them. So the people who would come to you, let's say you're a developer and you have a company, and you have the QA and everything in your company, and now somebody comes in, a business person, somebody with money that comes in, they'll be like, okay, I want you to build me a software, and I want the software to do this and that. Now, what when they give you that idea what a software should do, that is nothing but a requirement. That is nothing but what they want you to build software as. So this is nothing but building a building, right? Let's say I want to build a building, right? So I'm going to hire the contractor, and I'm going to let them know, like, I want, like, 3 rooms here. I want a kitchen on the first floor, sleeping area on the second floor, dining room in the kitchen, play room in the basement, something like that, right? So this is my requirement. So same thing in the software industry. People come in with their idea and their requirement, and they hand it to the IT company. An IT company does the job, and then then they give it back to them, to the business people, and then get paid. That's how it works. So this is what it's talking about here, right? To meet the user requirement. And what is the requirement? When the user comes in, they comes in with the requirement. So when we build a software, we think about, are we meeting the user requirement, to make sure does the software really works as expected, what the business company wants us to do, right? Does it meet the requirement, user requirement? This is the initial requirement we talked about. Do they like it? Is it what they're expecting? Right. So this is as a tester, you and I, we are not going to be building the software, but we are going to test it. There's going to be a different set of people, called developers. They will be doing physical coding. They would be using Java is like the most popular one, or Python, Ruby, or C Sharp, or any other language. Mostly Java. So let's focus on Java. So they're going to be using Java to build the software, and we will be testing the software, and to make sure that software is working fine. There is no bug. There is no issue in that application. Um, and how do we do that, right? We'll find out as we move farther in this class. How do we do that? What is software quality? Software quality is bug-free, provide objective evidence, delivered on time within the budget, meets user requirement, and it is maintainable. So when it comes to software, software quality is so important. And how do you define quality? The first thing is, make sure the software is bug-free. Make sure that there is no issue in the software. It is functioning properly. It is working as expected. um, then obviously provide objective evidence. That's one thing. But what is more important, most important, the bug free part is the most important part, and then delivered on time, right? There would be time defined before you start working on it. So making sure that you deliver that product on time, it is very, very essential. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot go beyond that time limit. It's really bad, right? People will not do business with you if you do this, especially in this industry. So being on time is very important within the budget, right? We don't control the budget, but we control delivering the software on time. And once we do that, it most likely, it's going to be within the budget, because if you don't work more than what is expected, then it's going to be staying within the budget. And once you fail deliver the product on time, then obviously more money comes in, and expenses gets, um, midday is a requirement. This is nothing but what we talked about previously, maintainable, right? That's another thing. We don't we don't control this part, but the coding part, right? When they're coding, uh, there are different ways of coding, right? Nowadays, right? It's just not about coding. It's about how organized are you? How can we, when we make changes in the future, how much impact it will have in different part of the application. So there are so many reviews and everything goes into it. Maintainability is very important, but we as a tester don't really control it. But it's good to know, right? So why do we test software? Same thing, like written in differently, and the purpose is for you to understand importance of it and understand ins and out of it, right? Why do we test? To provide confidence in the system, identify areas of weakness, establish degree of quality, to prove it is usable and operable. These all of these are very similar questions, but very important. So next thing is really important. When do we test software, right? When do we test? This is very important, and often you get asked about this question in interview. It's kind of tricky question. So ideally, like if an application, let's say you're working in Facebook application, I'm keep repeating Facebook because everybody knows Facebook, right? Let's say Facebook doesn't exist, but we are our company is building software, Facebook.com. Now, when do you start testing Facebook? That's a good question, right? In order for you to start testing, you have to have that application in front of you. You have to have application ready. But that's what everybody thinks, right? That's what you and I think. Okay, I'm going to test something. I need to have it in place, right? That's when ideally you start testing. But this is what the first part is saying. Once the code is complete, what is code? Code is nothing but building an application. Coding is nothing but building an application, right? When developers done their coding, the application is ready. You're going to see the UI and everything is there. So ideally, you would be performing software testing once the code is complete. But there are other things you would be doing as part of your testing during development. So what is development? Development is nothing but coding. So this is where I'm saying, like, once the code is complete, that's when you start testing. But I'm also here saying during development, meaning during coding. So there are the different things, the different activities you do during the testing. That's part of your testing. Remember, guys, testing is a process oriented job. You follow the process, and you, as we go further in this course, you would learn what is process, and but understand it. This is a process oriented job. This is very important for everyone to understand that. And some point down the line, when you face interviews, they could ask you, why do you like this software testing job? You can tell them, like, this is a process oriented job, and I really like following the process, and I'm really good in following process things in those nature. We'll teach you that later, but I'm just giving you heads up. So going back to when do you test? Once the code is complete, during development, once the system delivery complete. This one and the first one is same thing. As soon as architecture defined. So this is like when they define architecture, that's when like nothing is done, like only documentation is in place, is the architect documentation, design document, nothing else. The code is not complete. But that's when you do some certain type of testing, you will learn those. um, as soon as project is given to go ahead. So initial, from very initial phase, you could start testing, but you won't test the physical application. You will be following some processes that is in place, and we'll learn about that later on. So this one, I think, other thing, guys, please try to take notes. Like when you hear about different words, when you hear about different things, taking note is the essential thing in this field. If you really want to succeed and go somewhere, please do take notes. It's very important, because the more you write, the more you research. When you write something, let's say you don't understand, research about it, ask me or ask somebody. That's how you learn. Otherwise, it's going to be complicated for you. Okay. So so we know when to test. Now, what are the main purposes of software testing? These three things, memorize it, understand it. You should know this in your sleep. Like what are the main purposes of software testing? Defect finding, verification, and validation. These three things, I understand this. uh, thoroughly. It's very important. So what is defect finding? A defect is difference between expected and actual results. So what is defect, right? A defect is when you go to an application and it's supposed to behave certain way, but it doesn't. So that is a defect. A defect is an issue. Defects is called bug or issue. So when you hear defect or bug or issue, is same thing. Right? Verification is the process of confirm. Verification is a process confirms the software meets the technical specification, and validation is a process confirms that software meets the business requirement. So verification, validation, we're going to talk about a lot more as we move forward, but this is written technically, so just understand that, but you don't need to memorize these two lines. We'll talk about it as we go further. Then we moving on to the requirement. So this thing, guys, requirement is so important that you must understand everything starts from the requirement. And what is a requirement? Someone wants to give it a shot, like explain in your own word, like what do you understand about a requirement? It could be anything. Um, if one of you want to go, I'm just trying to talk to you guys, trying to engage you guys from new batch, old batch, anybody wants to go. What is a
Um,
requirement?
I believe that's basically where the software specifications are.
Yeah, but explain a little bit more, because when you're saying specification and requirement, you're talking about the same thing, right?
Um, Basically what like what kind of applications or what kind of not real applications, but like what kind of stuff you are going to like what you need to actually create the system or develop the software.
Yeah,
Basically the
exactly. Even like answering requirement, if you're new, you don't have to tie to that question toward the software industry. You can just talk about any requirement. Let's say I want you to make me a T-shirt. What is my requirement? What is your requirement, right? So things in this nature. No, but brother Fahad, this is correct answer. Like anyone else wants to give it a shot?
What one need actually?
Yeah, what someone need, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, that's good. Anyone else?
Um, I have an example of requirement. Like if you are looking for a job, there'll be a list of requirements. Like you need a requirement of a bachelor's degree, or you need to have a certain certification, or else you cannot apply for the job, or they won't take you into consideration.
Absolutely, that's a perfect example for different industry, but that's perfect example. But why are you talking as Mamoon?
Oh
Where's
no, because I'm downstairs in his room doing the
cool,
class.
cool. Does Mamoon know what is requirement?
Do you know?
Yeah, I'm reading it on the paper.
No, you tell me, what do you understand of requirement?
Um, in my case, I think of a requirement as a task that is listed, and you have to follow by the guidelines. That's
Yeah,
what I think a requirement.
requirement, you can say requirement is a guideline which defines what needs to be done,
Okay.
right? Yeah, so good, that's good, guys. So requirement is a guideline, right? It could be in a document form, it could be in yeah, sometimes people can verbally say it, like this is what I want you to do, but ideally you want to write it down. In software industry, when a requirement comes, it's going to be written either in Word format or PowerPoint, mostly in a Word format, and they would be giving you guideline from end to end, what they're expecting. There is going to be design document there showing, there would be graphical design in place for you to visualize what exactly they're asking for. There are designer in place, they will be designing it as per the requirement, like how they want that is application to look like, what is they will be drawing mock-ups and everything. So understanding requirement is very important, very crucial. That's where everything starts. And application starts from the requirement itself, right? Once the requirement is given, that's when you know like what you are getting into, what is the expected. Developers who are going to start visualizing like how they have to code, how they have to go about it, things in those nature. I hope the requirement is clear to you guys. Like I mentioned, requirement comes in, let's say, Microsoft Word format. And once you get the requirement, you are going to start reading through the requirement. This is what we're saying, analyzing the requirement, read through the requirement, make sure that you understand the requirement, make sure that sometimes they give you requirement, but they are outsider, right? They're not IT industry people. There could be anyone who has money and who has idea. For example, let's say Jeff Bezos came in, and which is he did like maybe 22 years ago. He came in and he said, okay, I want you to build me a software where people can go and start shopping, right? So, but he may not be technical person. He's going to come in and give you the requirement, but sometimes like, he's not clear about what he wants, right? So when you are reading a requirement, you have to make sure the requirement is unique and clear. If it's not clear, then you have to go back and say, hey, what do you mean by that? Because we cannot build something if we don't understand or if it's not clear. So first thing you do, once you have the requirement in place, you analyze and understand it the requirement. And how do you do that? By reading and understanding the requirement. So this line is very important, guys. Every requirement has to be unique, precise or clear, testable, consistent, complete, not ambiguous, and bounded. So obviously requirement has to be unique, right? Within one requirement, let's say Facebook or Google or Gmail, right? It's the facebook.com is the whole application is one big requirement, but within that, everything you see is a mini requirement. For example, not Facebook, if we can go into that, Gmail, right? If you go to Gmail, like gmail.com is a big requirement. Gmail.com is a big requirement. The whole thing is a big requirement. Now, within that Gmail, whatever you see, it's a sub requirement. So if I can show you, right? Once you go to gmail.com, that's your main requirement. Within that, there's going to be so many functionality. Like for example, inbox sign up is one functionality, right? For you to log in, like you need to sign up. I don't want to log out because I don't want to log out. Um, so if I go to Gmail, sign up, fine. For me to have an account in Gmail, I need to sign up, right? I signed out. Please sign me out. Okay. So anyway, create an account, right? For myself. Like this is where everything starts. Gmail.com. You sign up here. So this page is a sub requirement of gmail.com. Once you sign up, then you go to sign in. This is going to be another requirement. Once you sign in, you go into that email functionality. Within that email functionality, you have inbox. You have inbox, then you have all these other boxes, right? These are going to be, each one of them is going to be not sometimes like combined, a few of them could be one sub requirement. Within that gmail.com, there could be many requirement. I think I asked Shamim to create requirement for gmail.com. Are you done with that? Are you able to showcase this to this group?
You want me to show it now or?
Yeah, in a second. Once I'm done with
Okay,
this, I'm gonna want you to
okay,
show it to this group.
okay.
So going back to the requirement, Shamim is gonna display his computer to show you guys what is the how he created requirement for the Gmail functionality. But I'm just explaining to you guys. When you read through the requirement has to be unique. There should not be duplicate. They should not come and tell you, can you build me 2 inboxes? That doesn't make sense, right? Duplicates. Why duplicates, right? So you need to identify that. You need to make sure that requirement is clear. You need to understand that requirement is testable. And what I mean by that, when I say, what is a good example, Razubai, of testable requirement?
Something that you can test, like in Gmail when you send an email. Let's say you create a requirement for sending an email. You can actually test it in the system when you send the email. When you use Gmail on the web, there is going to be a tab to send an email, and if you can test it, that means it's testable. If you can actually perform the actions.
Yeah. So you need to make sure, thank you, Rajubai. You need to make sure that your requirement is testable. And now, if it's not testable, then I have to say, hey, the requirement you're giving me is not testable, and I don't think we can accept it. We need to work. We need to get more clarity, like what exactly it is. So what I mean by that is, for example, let's say I said I'm saying that another account. If I go to create an account for myself. So if I said I want you to I want you to have a sign up page where username and password field shall be there and user shall be able to create username and password. When I said that, that's my requirement to you. I'm saying to that, let's say I'm a business guy, I'm saying like, build me an application which has sign up functionality, and within the sign up functionality, user should be able to enter their first and last name. They should be able to enter the username and password. That is my complete requirement. Now, do you think it's testable? Can you test that? Anyone can anyone can chip in. Do you think, can you test that functionality? Can you can test that requirement? We are here. We are in this testable. We cannot test it, unfortunately, because that requirement is not testable. And why this requirement is not testable? Because that requirement is ambiguous, is not bounded, is not complete. We cannot test it because of this all of this, and I can tell you why. I said it's not complete, it's ambiguous, and it's not bounded. So what I mean by that is like, so I'm saying build me an application which has sign up functionality, and within that sign up functionality, I'm keep repeating it so you guys understand that sign up functionality has first and last name, and user is able to enter first and last name, username, password, and confirm password. Now I did not define what what my application would be allowing for the user to have password or username as. I did not say that username shall be 6 to 8 digit character. Username should be only um, um, consist of characters and letters. I did not define the password length. If I didn't do it, how would you test it? How would you build it? What is the limit you're putting in? What are the different characteristic you are adding, you are allowed to add to this sign up functionality? So when I say it's ambiguous, do you understand what I mean by that? Because I did not give you any clarity what I want for this application. I just left you with some basics requirement without giving you boundary, without giving you clarity, and it's not even complete. So when you get a requirement, so for each and every requirement, you do not need that. But for some cases like this, right, you're dealing with in input box which requires you to have some sort of limitation and clarity, right? Like when you go into like a new application, and when you are putting in your username and password, when you're creating it, they give you requirement, the password should be 8 to 10 digit long, and you're only allowed to, or you must enter a different type of characters, special character and uppercase, lowercase, numeric value, things in those nature. So these are the things you need to understand as a tester, that it has to be in place. The boundary values should be there, should not be ambiguous, should be complete, should be consistent, should be testable. So
Okay,
this is some, yeah,
I'm sorry, Kadir. I have a few questions if I could stop you for a few minutes.
yeah, go ahead.
All right. So one of the questions that I have, so obviously as a developer, you do get the design documents which contain the business rules, which contain the EERD and all this. So obviously, if you're a developer, you need those things. And since you are going to test the software, are we going to get the same design documents? Because you do need the design documents or business rules to test the software. So I think that was one of your questions, that you do need those requirements, or as we call business rules. So we could test the software. Is that?
Yes, brother, it's a very good question. So there is a thing called SDLC, software development lifecycle, and within that we'll get there. Oh yeah, it's right here, part 3, SDLC. Within that SDLC, there are different teams sitting there, like for example developers, quality assurance guys like you and I, business analysts, designer, project managers, and the clients. So every application, every documents which is gets created is going to be circulated and shared to everybody. So you will have access to each documents, design document, requirement document, any other specifications they have in place. You will have access to everything because you are part of this team and you are going to be part of building that software. So you'll get access to everything. So that's a good question, brother. But what I'm saying it like what I'm trying to explain to you guys, don't expect that you have a requirement in place. Don't think it's complete. Don't take it with your eyes closed. You have to read through it. You have to know like what are the gaps in the requirement, because remember that the guys who's giving you the requirement, they may or may not be technical, so they may or may not understand how a requirement should be, what is a complete requirement. So that's your job. Every company works differently. Some company has their internal applications. Regardless, let's say a technical person wrote the requirement, a business analyst, she could be somewhat technical, she wrote the requirement, but she may or may not write a complete requirement. It's your job to before you accept the requirement, your job to know what you're building, and you must go through that process that I was talking about. Hopefully it makes sense, guys.
Can I say something?
Please, brother.
Yeah. How you analyze the requirement, the main things is testable and other things are conditions. Is it right?
Yeah, if you look at testable part, this has like so many different part involved. Like this is like subsection of testable, which is your understanding is correct, brother. And how do you know if that requirement is testable? By reading and understanding the requirement. So this is where everything starts, right? You're absolutely right. So yeah, so that's what I was talking about. The next part is pretty big. Not sure if we're going to get into it today, but let me have Shamim sharing his screen and show us like what he created. I hope you guys review this, Rajubhai. Like, was the review done?
It was pretty much done. They were just finishing up.
Okay, can we present it? Can we look into it?
I'm not sure how far Shamim got, but I think he
Okay,
completed most
I
of
can
it.
show you now.
go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing. So go ahead. So this is for rest of you guys to understand. Like, I gave him a task to do. It's from the last batch. He's using a tool called Jira, which we're going to go there later on. I will give you access to a tool called Jira. Jira is a tool, it's a software that allows you to do different things. Like, let's say you can create a project, you can monitor a project, you can log the defects that we talked about, the issues, so many more things. We'll learn about this. So let's go into your project first.
Okay, I'm gonna show you like where is it. I wrote like a requirement from this screenshot,
Mm-hmm.
and where is it?
So he's from last batch, guys. So he is understanding. If you don't get nervous seeing all the work, but he's been there. He's doing his work, and now I assigned him a task to do. Let's see
I'm
what he
still
did.
learning, guys. I'm not perfect. Like this is like the screenshot, and I wrote some requirement from this page, and these are like requirements. Like this is like what is like this is Gmail registration page, register page. I mean, the first requirement I wrote like user shall be able to navigate. Like this is the URL link by using all browser. So I'm gonna show you. So first requirement.
So open your Jira
Yes.
dashboard.
1 second. Okay, this is the epic, and these are like the stories.
Okay, so that's good. Close. Yeah. Okay. So your dashboard is little bit. Is it backlog? That's good. That's good. So here. So these are all the story point, right?
Yes.
Okay. So under the epic, so you have linked all of this, right? So you have GRP 0. Where did you start from? GRP 003, right? So open one of this ticket, right click, and then open it in a different tab. No, if you right click, oh, just click on it. Just click on it. Okay, so if you go here,
I didn't assign or I didn't do anything. I just posted them here.
okay, how can you open this in a different link, different tab? No, not here. This is just click on it. Click on this guy. Click on the
Okay.
story point now. Oh yeah, click on this. Open it. Open the. Yeah, just click on one of this. Do you have any story point which is complete?
Complete with what? Like assigning someone or
No, no, no. Your requirement, your screenshot, your complete
oh,
requirement, basically.
okay, I'm gonna show you right here. Please. Okay, this is like Gmail registration functionality. I this and here is the screenshot right here
Okay, so just
for
close.
this epic.
Okay, just close the screenshot. No, just the screenshot. Are you able to give me the control?
How I'm not sure how to do this. Okay, how? Going to like start sharing and
No, no, no.
Just go up to the view op.
where is it?
No, no, under where you're sharing, like that. Not, no, no, don't stop sharing. Under my name, just say
1 second.
under my name. The more options should be there. Anyway, no, don't hide shit.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna look into it because let me see. There should be. Okay, leave it alone. That's fine. I wanted to see like if you have any complete requirement. See if you can open it. And while you're doing that, guys, like so, I asked him to create a requirement. We were like 5 minutes ago, we were talking about requirement. What is a requirement? So I asked him to create a requirement on an existing application. An existing application is Gmail. So within the Gmail, I said, go ahead and find different um, different requirement that Gmail has and try to list it out here. So he started writing. There was one requirement he wrote. Gmail sign up functionality, and within the sign up functionality, user shall be able to have that ability to enter first name, last name, username, password, confirm password, things in those nature. Then once you sign up, users shall have the ability to log into their application using the username and the password that was created. Once you do that, users shall be able to access their Gmail account, and the user should be able to log in successfully and see the inbox, send box, and all of these boxes that Gmail has in place. So this is just to get his hands dirty and to understand what it is. But it seems like he's having some issue sharing and
Okay, I'm going to start sharing now. Sorry.
navigating through the application. We'll work on it separately and showcase that to you guys. But so what do you guys think about what we went over so far? So we went over basic part 1, basic part 2, and SDLC. Should we talk about SDLC, or you guys think this should be too much for this week?
We can do a brief overview and for what to look forward to in the next class.
Okay. So
Actually, I have one last question. Sorry.
yeah, go ahead. No, that's fine, brother.
Okay. One thing you mentioned earlier about the testing part, that where you said the bug free. Let's say like you were testing a software and you did found a bug. So as a tester, what do? You do report to the developer, or you just try to fix it? Obviously, you cannot fix it if you don't know much about the developing part.
Brother, this is brother. Sorry, I didn't see the name.
Fahad.
Fahad, brother. Yeah, you're ahead of the game, brother. It's really good. I love the way you're thinking. That's really good. You're really ahead of the game. We will talk about this very shortly. There is a whole class we're going to talk about, like what to do when you find a bug and everything and things on this. Yes, you're going to be reporting it. We'll talk about it in broader detail when we get there. But right now, if I bring it up, I think it's going to be an hour, and people are going to get lost. So let's not go there now. But thank you so much. This is a really good question. I think.
All right, I'll keep it for the next time.
Yeah.
And it's not one class. It's going to be a couple classes devoted just to bug how to report a bug and stuff. It's a big subject.
It's a big subject. We'll get there. We'll get there. So so the basics part 1, part 2 is I'll send you guys the document. Please read through it, understand it, come back ready next Sunday. Like, you must understand each and everything about what we just covered about the basics. Part 1, part 2. We'll quiz each other. We'll try to understand. Quiz is not because to put you down or anything. Quiz is just going to engage you to this class and also give you the confidence about this course. And obviously, if you don't talk, you're not gonna, like they say, if you snooze, you lose. If you don't talk, you're not gonna do any good to yourself. Anyway, so I was talking about SDLC. So SDLC is software development life cycle. So what is SDLC? If you look at this, there's a big lot of things written here. But before we go into this lines of I was going to say code, but words, we'll understand this graph first, and understanding this graph is very important. So SDLC is the entire process of developing a software program, and we have to understand what goes into SDLC. So I'm just going to give you a brief idea about this, and we'll talk about it more next week class. And I'll give you guys this slide and the other document so you guys have it handy for you. So SDLC has, like I said before, this field is process oriented field. So this one has process built in place. And remember, we talked about the user requirement. So there are different phases within the SDLC. Like the work starts initially from user requirement phase right here. User requirement phase, that's where the user comes in with their idea, with their need, and what they want from the application. This is where they come in, user requirement phase. That's where they come in. And then they talk to like IT company, and they talk about what they want out of a software. And this is where like external company comes in with their idea, with their requirement. They have meetings with IT company managers, like project manager or business analyst. I hope you guys are familiar with the term business analyst. Business analyst, it's a group of people who works within the software industry. So there are mainly 4 or 5 different type of groups works within the software industry. Developers are there, business analysts are there, project managers, QA. We are QA. Designer. What else am I missing out? Nothing is standardized, guys. Like in IT world, every company works differently, but these are like the main popular way of working. So this is where in the first phase is user requirement phase, then planning phase, then design phase, then development phase, then system testing phase, then UAT phase, then production phase, cutover phase, and maintaining phase. These are the whole 9 yards of SDLC. That's how you build a software product. So initial phase, user comes in with the requirement, and then they hand over their requirement to the IT company. They usually hand it over to the project manager or the business analyst. And business analyst takes this document, the requirement document from that users, and moves to the planning phase. And this is where, like, in the first phase, user comes in and gives their idea in plain English language because they are not technical, right? In the planning phase, the requirement phase, the business analyst gets the requirement and they take it and they say, okay, they have several meetings. They talk about, they finalize it, and the business analyst said, okay, we can do this. We can do this in this time frame or whatever. They agreed upon this requirement, and now that's written in plain English language. Then business analyst brings that requirement and takes it to the planning phase and converts that document into a technical document called SRS. SRS is nothing but system requirement specification. It is also written in English, but it has some technical terminology in there. So they sort of convert it to technical term. And once it's finalized, then they send it to designer to do their design, like mock-up designing, developers for the coding purpose, and a tester. This is where we sit, tester for their testing. So once the document is ready, they send it to us, right? And designer does the designing, developers does the developing, and testers does their testing. Once the testing is done, then we say, okay guys, testing is done, so our application looks good, we are done with this. Now then that application moves to the UAT phase. What is UAT phase? UAT is user acceptance testing phase. So what is that, right? User, when we give them that document, that when the user gives us the document saying, hey, can you build me a software? After that, they go on vacation or whatever, we don't see them anymore. In this phase, when we said, hey, whatever you asked for, we got it ready, come on, take it and give us the money. They're saying, hold on, we want to verify it. We want to make sure that whatever we ask you to do, it's what you're delivering. So this is where they're going to bring their own testers. The UAT stands for user acceptance tester. So users, these are the users, right? The end user. They're going to come in and say, okay, you tested it, you said it's fine, but I'm going to give you millions of dollars, so I want to make sure what you are telling me is true. So they are going to bring their own tester, and they're going to perform testing here again, and they're once they say it's okay to give green signal, that application moves to production. Production is nothing but it goes live, everybody has access to it, or whatever the reason they're building this software. Let's say they're building a e-commerce software, it's going to be accessible, right? Once it goes to production, it's going to be accessible. And then there are cutover phase and maintenance phase. The cutover phase, like sometimes an application requires a plugin or sub application to work. Sometimes, which doesn't happen often nowadays, in the cutover phase, the if that application needs an add-in to run, it gets installed. User manual gets created there, and user training happens there. So these are the three things happens in cutover phase. Maintenance phase is for, let's say they build an application, and like 3-4 months later or a year later they said, okay, we want to add on to that application, or we want to change something in that application. So that application starts from the maintenance phase. The maintenance phase is where you make the changes. And then configuration phase, this is this is a phase that's where all the final version of the documents get stored. There is a library called CM library, configuration management library. That's where all the main version of the documents gets saved, baseline basically. Everything requires a documentation to make sure that whatever they agreed upon is saved somewhere. So if there is confusion or whatever, you can always go back and look into their document. So this is like the whole 9 yard of SDLC. I know it is, when you hear it for the first time, it's very complicated, but it's really not complicated. Any questions about SDLC? I didn't want to do this to you guys. Rajubai made me do it. I was gonna do it next week.
No, it's just overview. We're gonna go over it again next week. And also, I wanted to ask everybody if they left their email. If anybody forgot, please leave your email in the chat. Leave your email in the chat so we have it on file.
Okay, what do you guys think about the SDLC, what we just talked about? Any questions, concern, or was it too much, or was it a piece of cake for you?
I think it was kind of similar what earlier was talking about the requirements and stuff. It's quite kind of same thing, but in a very organized way.
Mm-hmm. Remember, this is how you build, not just you, like different group of people works in this framework. This is nothing but a framework, different group of people works within that framework to build a software product. This is a lot of information within this framework, but we're going to break it down each by one by one, and it's going to be easier for you. So don't get afraid looking into all these, big words and everything. Don't get confused. I'm going to give you descriptions. It's written somewhere here. If I can find it. I know a lot of you are just thinking, attending the first day to see how it goes, and when you see all of this, you might think that it's not for me, but trust me, like it's not. It's nothing, just hang in there. We have to repeat this a couple of times and then should be fine. Anyway, whatever I was talking about, what is SDLC? Let me see if this is written somewhere in better plain language. Okay, so SDLC, software development life cycle. This is the entire overall process by which the entire software is developed. So within SDLC, there are requirement phase, planning phase, design phase, development phase. testing phase, iterative phase, deployment or production phase. So it's talking about all of these different phases. And for description of each phases are written here. What happens in user requirement phase? User or client come in to the IT company with their requirement. So their requirement is called URS, user requirement specification. And then when the business analyst converts that URS, it's called SRS, system requirement specification, or some company calls it PRD. So the different phases are talking about different thing. Design phase, what designer are doing there, it's talking about here. Development phase, what developers are doing here. Testing phase, what we're going to do in testing phase. So this is just high level, guys. Don't you know, don't think like, you know, this is too much. Okay, let's talk guys. So this might be let me stop recording.